If your ex was an avoidant, you may think that they're not thinking about you anymore. They're happy to be alone and independent again, and you've totally been forgotten. But that is simply not true. And I'm going to give you 4 reasons why your avoidant ex is most likely thinking about you. And in order for them to come back, the first step is, of course, to think about you. Hi, this is Lucia with The Art of Love. I'm a dating and relationship expert specializing in helping you get your ex back or to get over your ex. And welcome back, my beautiful no-contact army. Have you been a good little soldier and stayed in no contact? If you're having trouble doing that, download my app Silencio. The link is underneath every single video and podcast. And if you too want to join our beautiful no contact army, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button and the bell notification, and you're in. And to read our manual, go to nocontactsecrets.com, where you can read 2 free chapters before you purchase the book. And the link to that is also underneath every video and podcast. Okay, so before I begin, I actually want to read a short testimonial, a success story from one of my clients, because I know these success stories are very motivational if you haven't heard from your ex yet. Okay, so they say, Lucia helped save my relationship. I was down bad just a month ago after a tough breakup. I was confused, anxious, and overall in an extremely tough spot. I started listening to The Art of Love. Lucia's voice and advice kept me calm. Her honesty and confidence mixed with humor helped me stay focused on working on me. I started using no contact. I started using the Silencio app and hit the panic button a few times. But with her help, I stayed strong. It didn't take long for my ex to start reaching out to me with interesting messages. I received coaching from Lucia where she taught me about attachment styles, the need for me to regain my independence, and what to do when my ex came back. And they did come back. We're now happier than ever. I'm so thankful that I found Lucia. You can all do this, but you have to be good little soldiers. That's right. Thanks for your testimonial. Okay, so let's start with the first reason your avoidant ex may be thinking about you. And that is because if you have an anxious attachment style, they never thought that you would be in no contact. They never thought that you would be silent. They thought you'd be chasing them, trying to get them back, especially if you always did that in the past when there were breakups or fights. So if you've been a good little soldier and stayed in no contact, they will definitely wonder what's going on. And, when you've dated someone, you can usually predict how they're going to behave, how they're going to respond to a situation, especially if you were with them for a long period of time, right? So when you behave the opposite to what they expected, they're going to have cognitive dissonance. So even though they didn't want the relationship, especially if they got scared off by their own fears and thoughts, they still didn't want you to necessarily disappear from their life. That's why avoidants often want to remain friends. So when you actually do no contact and disappear, now they have to reassess their decision. That's why it's so important to get into no contact and stay there. That way they won't have any other options but to reflect on their decision and eventually come to realize what they lost. This is why I get so upset when someone breaks no contact, because you're shooting yourself in the foot and making things worse for yourself just so you can momentarily calm your anxiety, and it's rarely, if ever, worth it. On to the second reason. Just as you are getting triggered when things remind you of your ex, or when it's their birthday, or maybe even your birthday, they will also experience triggers. And in fact, in the last week, I've had 2 of my clients who got triggered because of birthdays, and they almost broke no contact. Thank God they didn't. One was the guy, you may recall that his ex's daughter was crying on the phone, and even though I told him he cannot reach out to the ex, the daughter was like, please, she's afraid you're going to reject her. Please contact mom. And he's like, okay. And then he did, and nothing happened. And he still has not heard from the ex, and it's been almost 3 months. So it was, I believe, his birthday recently. And even though he didn't expect her to reach out, of course, he kind of hoped she would. And when she didn't, he wanted to reach out. He wanted to break no contact. But luckily, he didn't. He just had a momentary weakness. And my other client, this was the second time I had to talk her down off the ledge because it was his birthday. And she's like, well, why can't I just contact him and ask to meet up and just catch up? Come on. Don't lie to yourself, okay? You can lie to me, although you can't lie to me because I know this isn't about just catching up. You're hoping that you're going to catch up, meet up, catch up, and get back together. That's not going to happen. I can guarantee you 100% that's not going to happen. I've never had that happen. He'll meet up with you, you'll catch up, and then he'll be back on his merry way, and you're going to feel like a fool. So, luckily, as far as I know, she did not contact him, but she was triggered, but luckily she contacted me first. So, your ex may get triggered with birthdays, just like you, and in fact, often exes, if you don't wish them a happy birthday, they will unfollow you or block you, which is fine, It's a reaction. And other triggers could be songs, TV shows you watch together, places you vacationed in. I've had clients tell me that they couldn't go to certain cities anymore because they reminded them too much of their ex. The longer you were together, the more memories you're going to have, obviously, and the easier they'll get triggered once they've stopped suppressing their feelings. So don't expect it to happen right away with an avoidant. Open loop. I talked about this in my video, my most popular video, 7 reasons why the no contact rule works on everyone. And I will put that link in the upper right-hand corner on YouTube. Avoidants don't usually give closure and don't usually ask for closure. So there's usually a lot of unfinished business in breakups with avoidants. As time goes by, they may get this gnawing feeling that they may have left too early, they may have walked away too easily. Avoidants don't usually close the door totally, just in case they want to come back. So unless they told you to absolutely never contact them again and they don't want to have anything to do with you, you still have a chance. And even if they did say those things, depending on the circumstances, you still have a chance, especially if they said them when they were breaking up with you or if they were angry. People say a lot of things at the end of relationships which they don't mean and which they later regret. So don't worry. And the final reason your avoidant ex may be thinking about you is because you are growing and thriving without them. Maybe there were certain changes they wanted you to make, which you weren't making, and now they see that you did or that you're working on yourself. That's why you should not block an ex right after a breakup. Most exes will be looking at your social media, even if it's secretly. And there's no other way to show them that you're moving on without them and your life is better and you worked on yourself, unless you have social media or unless you have mutual friends that they can ask. So when you start to look more appealing, and I don't mean physically, just physically, in all ways, their fear of loss is going to kick in, especially if the only reason they ran away was because they feared taking the next step in the relationship. So instead of chasing them, you're leaving them alone with their thoughts, which I know is difficult if you have an anxious attachment style. They will definitely be thinking about you and wondering if they should reach out. And this is when you'll see things start to turn around for you, and they'll show signs of missing you, which I talked about in my video last week, which I will post in the upper right-hand corner. So finally, keep in mind that if you do hear from your avoidant ex, and the reason they broke up with you was not because you did anything wrong or because their relationship was terrible or toxic, but because they were afraid of the next step, you should absolutely make it a prerequisite that they work on their attachment style before you get back together. Otherwise, you're just asking for trouble, because if they left once, there's a very good chance they'll leave again unless they worked on themselves. Because otherwise, what's going to happen the next time they get triggered, right? People don't usually do anything just once. So make sure you tell them, no, you need to work on your attachment style. Otherwise, we're not getting back together. Which is going to be hard to do, but I'm just looking out for you as usual. Okay, so now I want to hear from you. How long have you been in no contact and how is it going? And in the meantime, if you would like my help to get your ex back, you can contact me at theartoflove.net/coaching. and we will send you the rates. They are not on the website. We respond to all emails within 24 hours. So if you don't hear back, then please write again and try a different email if you have a secondary email. If you found this video helpful, I would appreciate if you would like, subscribe, and share. If you're listening to this as a podcast and you want to help the podcast, the best thing to do is to download the episode. And finally, remember, love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.